Fed believes that the United States is moving in the right direction. Standard Gold dollar specific reform that the United States was moving in the right direction. Fact of the matter is that there are a sufficient number of indicators suggesting the U.S. economy will face serious pressure. Special Q1 explained that the U.S. Federal Reserve is moving in the right direction. Fed believes that the United States is moving in the right direction. Fact of the matter is that there are a sufficient number of indicators suggesting the U.S. economy will face serious pressure, although most of the talking heads on Wall Street, that the United States was moving in the right direction. Fact of the matter is that there are plenty of indicators suggesting the U.S. economy will face severe pressure in 2016. The fact of the matter is, America's economy is not tampered with, and we were led to believe that economic improvement. But you say that, and with the global economy is not wealthy. Collapse. Decline. 2016 is not shaping up to be a good year for the U.S. economy. These kinds of corrections may seriously affect the U.S. and global equities. Rising interest rates can produce ordinary Americans, and foreign markets have a negative impact. U.S. economy is steady as a rock. Or rely commission agent. Analysts and fund managers will tell you. They will tell you the same thing. As early as in 2007 and 2008. But the stock market crash and the Great Depression before. But the reality set in. Only a few months later. The world is on the edge of economic collapse. Despite the warning signs. Today we hear the same kind of misguided optimism. Support pillar of the U.S. economy is more vulnerable than they were before the Great Depression. Although the so-called picking the truth is that global economy still seems to be in a recession. American workers do not have a tooth in the long bull market benefit. Underemployment remain high. The inflation rate is much higher than the U.S. government's official statistics. 1/3 of Americans have no emergency savings. Most worried about their financial situation more than anything else. This is all the trillions of dollars and years, the Federal Reserve and other global central bank intervention. As a result, the United States will be economic collapse in 2016. QE4 is the only valid method of procrastination. Interesting phenomenon is that Fed believes that the United States is moving in the right direction. Fact of the matter is that there are plenty of indicators suggesting the U.S. economy will face serious pressure. The Fed cannot tell an important sign. U.S. government statistics hide the collapse of the U.S. economy. If inflation under wraps. This is not unimportant. If the wage stagnation and the U.S. official figures the growth is seriously misleading. According to U.S. government statistics, the rate of inflation in 2015, only 0.6%. Unfortunately, the data is ignored. Everyone uses, including the most basic items of food and energy costs, alternative non-government inflation measures. It tells a completely different story. Americans spend their own money. 50 major cities in the country. Unadjusted costs and price volatility. The index looks at the project. If you happen to work in Boston and San Jose, and get a 0.8% pay rise. This is not enough to make your day-to-day expenses increased. Whatever the official government data tells you. However, inflation means that prices at the grocery store not more. Thus, for a given nominal GDP growth, underestimating inflation over time will lead to overestimation of real GDP growth for some time. U.S. economic collapse has already begun. The Fed cannot tell an important sign too. Average real wages fell by Americans. About 70% of the U.S. gross domestic product, GDP, from consumer spending. The most important word there is the consumer. So you really cannot predict anything the U.S. economy will do, unless you see how ordinary Americans are doing. It is not pretty. Although highly touted unemployment did not mention the underemployment rate, part-time jobs who want full-time job, and those who have stopped looking but need a job, maintained at above 37%. The most important is most American workers. I have not seen any improvement in their salaries. Between 2009 and 2015, people paid professions. 50% of people believe that their average wage decline of 5.7%. These include retail work, food processing, personal care products, cleaners and home health aides. Specifically, the chef, a decrease of 9.8%. Food preparation workers was 7.7%. And home health aide, 6.2%. For all U.S. workers, their 4% decline in the purchasing power of the average income. This means that the cost of living in the U.S. over wage increases. This indicates millions of Americans almost no economic security. This is not because this is the message needs to anyone. Even if the Fed has said wage stagnation is the evidence that the U.S. economy has not fully recovered. If the decline in real wages, consumers cannot make ends meet. How to get help through a separate consumer economy grow? Only loans and credit cards floating abuse. Keeping household spending. If consumers are forced to rein in spending. In 2016, the recession is almost inevitable. The Fed cannot tell an important sign. 3. Millions of Americans almost no money. Not only Americans have to spend more and less, they also have little or no money set aside for emergencies. Approximately 2/3 of American adults, 68%. There is no emergency savings. This means that 14,400 million Americans do not have the safety net of the case. They lost their jobs, unexpected expenses, or cannot afford the rising cost of living. Almost half, 47%, said their savings would cover the cost of living is 80 days or less. It adds that 81% of Americans to the brink of collapse. It seems as if Americans are worse off than before the Great Depression. Not surprisingly, Americans are more worried about money than anything else, including their health on a daily basis. 1 in 5 Americans live paycheck to paycheck fear for their lives. Almost as many people fear the debt can never be still rest. This means never retire. You cannot tell an important sign for U.S. interest rates could weaken the United States. The Fed funds rate has already begun, fallen by more than 15 years. This means that almost everyone with a mortgage, loan or credit card debt for low interest rate environment. But most people expect the Fed to raise interest rates later in the year. But this will put an end to free, cheap money. Rising interest rates could weaken who already have Americans make ends meet trouble. This includes a large amount of debt, including student loan people. Total accumulated debt now than before the collapse of the U.S. economy since 2008 high. You cannot tell an important sign 5. Global economic anemia. U.S. economic growth has always been impressive. Before the Great Recession, in 2006, the United States announced a 2.7% GDP growth. In 2007, the gross domestic product of 1.8%. These are the last before the Great Recession of 2008, a good time. Despite the seesaw, the stock market has been riding in 2015. Investors are still too optimistic. Despite the weak manufacturing data from the United States, there's nothing positive to be announced. Investors are still very optimistic. 2 key indicators support this initiative. According to P/E ratio, Standard & Poor's 500 index is overvalued. In the past 10 years, the average cap P/E ratio, it has 24.34. What this means, each company makes a gain of $1. Investors are willing to pay $24.34. To put it in the background, only a higher proportion of time in 1929. In 2000 and 2007, all 3 instances, followed by a crash. Ratio of market capitalization to GDP. Compare all listed companies. GDP. Who disagree? But apparently the country's economic output. Correlation between profitability and corporate. The result is, and stock valuations should bear a certain relationship with the investment income or investment. 100% of the readings indicate that the stock market valuation is reasonable. More than 100% higher the ratio, the more overvalued stocks. The real estate bubble burst in 2008. Finally. But to do this, stock market needs to undergo a significant correction. Regarded as what? About 33% decline. It should be closer to 11,000, 32.5% adjustment. Dollar rise in interest rates may also affect ordinary Americans, and foreign markets have a negative impact. The truth of things is, America's economy is not do nearly as well as we have been led to believe. As well as the global economy is not wealthy. Collapse. Decline. Economic collapse. But you have to say that 2016 dollar crisis It is not also shaping up to be a good year for the U.S. economy?